my name is Erica, and thank you for joining me today as I talk about my ideas for a project based on theatrical projection design. So in this video, what I'm going to cover is my driving question, a bit about the background on my idea of this project in projection design and why I think it's important. Then I'll go through and talk a bit about my research that I did on it, as well as my rationale for using it in schools for high school. Then I'm going to talk a bit about the project itself, show you a few examples, and hopefully you'll know by the end just exactly what projection design is. So for this project, my driving question behind it was, how can we get students to use various technologies in a drama classroom to enhance their scenic design? So what do I mean by scenic design? Well, scenic design, as many of you have probably seen before in a play or a musical, even on TV or in movies, is simply the backdrop or the background of where the action is taking place. And the role of the scene design or the set design is to help convey the context and the mood of the action that's happening and create an environment for the action to take place. Now, I know you're wondering, Erica, why did you choose this project of theatrical projection design? Well, I chose the topic because there's an incredible lack of technology within the drama curriculum. I mean, even though technology is consistently being used in theater and fine arts, for some reason, there's no push to teach it to students. So I thought to myself, how can we prepare students who are interested in fine arts for a career in theater? And how can we reach the students who are interested in technology and fine arts and show them how they're connected? I want one of my main goals as a teacher to be preparing my students for the future, for the real world that's out there. And something that's becoming increasingly prevalent in theater today is the use of projection designs. So I became interested in this topic as I didn't know anything about it, and I'd never been taught anything about it. So I decided I would learn for myself and try to create a project that could be used in a high school setting, grades 10 to 12, to help teach them about this awesome new technology and how it's being used in professional theater today. So I want to talk a little bit about the research that I did for this project, but I need to be honest. There isn't a whole lot of scholarly articles available on the use of projection design in a high school classroom. I mean, I don't even think there's one. So after I kind of crossed that off my list, I proceeded to look online on the internet for online resources, blogs, videos, images, anything that could help me. And I found a really great resource. It's an online blog/forum, and it is called theaterface.com. And it was here that I was able to connect with, talk to, and review past conversations between real live teachers who are using projections in their schools and their performances, and they talk openly about it. They talk about what works, what doesn't, different programs that they suggest using, and they include pictures of what their final products look like. So this was an amazing tool for me. I also was able to find on YouTube a couple of videos showing some use of projection design, as well as online tutorials for different software programs. Also, a projection designer's gallery with a bunch of still images that I could look at to give me an idea of what these projection designs actually look like. If you want to know more about these resources that I used, all you need to do is go to my portfolio page, simply scroll down until you find the link that says Research Links, and click on that, and there will be a Word document that'll show you all the links that I used for my research. Alright, so now we get into the meat of the project. Why use projection design? I know, you're probably wondering, Erica, people for hundreds of years have been able to create beautiful scenery using a paintbrush and a piece of wood. Well, it's true, they have, but the world that we're living in is constantly changing. Technology is everywhere, and it's incredible what it can do. So why not embrace that? Like I said before, we're starting to see a lot of projection design being used in the theater world. It's everywhere, and it's amazing what this technology can do to help enhance the plays that we're seeing and the musicals we're seeing and the performances. So why wouldn't we want to teach that to kids? Let me give you a bit of an example to help clear this up in your head. All right, I want you to imagine that you are a prominent theater designer. You're a set designer, and you have this brilliant idea that for a certain scene in the play, you want there to be a beautiful collage as the background. You want the actors to be surrounded by multiple pictures of different things symbolizing what's happening in that scene. So, the old you would have gone out and, well, you either had to draw the pictures yourself or find them in, I don't know, magazines or posters, cut them all out. Then you would have probably looked to make sure that the colors all matched because you wanted it to be a uniform look. Then you had to attach them to your backdrop, so you're flat. So you had to maybe glue them all on. I mean, you could have used like a clear coat of paint, but you don't know how that would have reacted with the paper. So then you would have glued it all on, but the set's really big. So this might have taken hours and tons of images and tons of paper. Hello, environment and trees. Just wasting those. And then you would have struggled to maybe, fit it all in, and does it look okay? And then you look at it and it's all done, and it's not what you wanted. The colors are off. With the lighting design, it looks terrible. That would have taken you a lot of time and a lot of stress. But if you use projection design, you could have gone and taken your own photos. The symbols would have been perfect because you knew what you wanted and you could take that photo. Or you could have found them online or created them yourself. Then you compiled them all into a smooth, seamless picture. You're able to project that image onto the backdrop. What I'm trying to say is that there is a whole lot of pros and cons with projection design. So, as I was listening before, some of the pros would be things like there's a lot of variety in projection design. Not only can you have still images like your beautiful collage that would set this tone for what kind of scene you want to do, you can also do moving images. You can have moving projections in the background to create a beautiful underwater effect. It's also a little bit cheaper in the long run. So instead of spending all that money each time on paint and painting supplies and lumber and paper that would be used in a normal set design, projection design allows you to create the images all digitally. So it saves you a lot of money. You can also reuse the set pieces without having to repaint them. So that's just being time efficient. I don't need to constantly be repainting this one flat black after every show because I keep painting a different background onto it. I simply create a new slide, turn it on, and then it's done. You can also add more layers to your design without adding more weight. Now what I mean by that is that if you wanted to create a backdrop that had a blue sky, and then you wanted to put on top of that some grass, and then in front of that you wanted a house, and in front of that you wanted a tree, and in front of that you wanted flowers, that's getting a lot of layers with either paint or paper. When you do a projection design, you can put on millions of layers of color, of images, of moving images, and it doesn't add any weight to your set. So you don't have that fear of your set piece tipping over from the weight. Now to talk about the other side, the cons with projection design, well, it's technology, and every technology comes with multiple issues. So maybe something freezes, a light bulb burns out, the software isn't loading properly. I mean, there's endless issues with technology, and that's just something that we have to come to face. It's also expensive to start up from scratch. So I'm talking like you're in a school that doesn't have computers, you don't have PowerPoint, you don't have a projector, you don't have a backdrop to project it onto. That can be expensive. Replacing the light bulbs in a projector to get the right effect is expensive. Buying the software and downloading it is expensive. So yes, if you're starting from scratch, it's going to be quite expensive until you get your whole program running smoothly. Also, you might require a separate technician to run your projection design. Whereas if you were just to do normal scenic design, you paint your set, you make the background look the way you want it to, there it is for the play. But if you're using projection design and you want multiple images happening and moving images and you want to switch between different things, you might need to hire an extra technician or con another student into doing it to run those designs for you. Okay, so if you're wondering what the heck does this project look like, lucky for you, I am a generous soul and I have uploaded all of my files that I made that pertain to this project. I also put them in order of what you would use first to what you would use last, being the rubric. So I'm just going to briefly go over them. You can look at them for much more detail, but just to give you a quick idea of what these look like. The first file is the timeline for events. So this is showing how I would use, for example, 11 classes to complete this project. Disclaimer, not every class is the same, not every student is the same, so it's going to look a bit different for everyone, but this just gives you an idea of how I would use each class to kind of set up the foundations for what this project would look like. The next one is our scene analysis. This is just a guideline sheet for students to go through to make sure that they analyze their scene and actually read it. So it just talks about the characters, what's going on, why is the scene important, just so that they have an idea of why are they choosing this scene to do a projection design for. Then we have our design outline. Again, this is just another worksheet for the student to work through to make sure that they're actually thinking about why they're making the choices they're making. What does their design look like and why are they choosing to do that? The timeline on the bottom, the student would put in their own timeline. So they would talk about maybe they would first research, then they would watch the YouTube videos, then they would compile their own images, then they would put it together, then they would do a dress rehearsal, and then they would present it. That's just a quick example. Then we have our project process checklist. This is for teacher and student. You would go through this with the students to make sure that they're on task. They do have to complete all of these before they move on to being able to present. So it goes through all the things that you need getting to the dress rehearsals, the last one, and you would just check that off and the student can use that as a guide for working towards their final presentation. Then we have our compliment sandwich. This is a cute little way for students to do peer assessment and critiquing. So they would go through this and use it while they're watching the presentations of their peers. They'd tell them something they liked, one suggestion, and another thing they liked. And that's just helping them to really enhance their critical eye for artwork. And last but not least, is the giant presentation rubric. I know it looks really hefty, but it's all broken down into the process, the presentation, the product, and the reflection. So those are all those resources there. Feel free to read them over for more information. I included on my portfolio page, there are 3 different YouTube videos. These are videos showing the beginning level, intermediate level, and advanced level examples of what the student work might look like. They're really cool, so I do recommend watching them. I had a lot of fun creating them, and I talk about the process of how I created them on those videos. Now it's time to reflect on this giant project and what the heck I actually learned from doing it. Well, let me tell you, I learned all about projection design because I did not know a thing about it before. So I learned what it actually is and what it looks like and how much fun it is to create your own designs. I had a blast creating those different designs using videos and images and filters and colors. Like, I was thrilled. So I learned about how cool it is and that I actually really liked it. And I was super surprised by that because I am not usually into theater tech, but through this, I was totally into it. I also learned that technology can be really frustrating. So learning to use Adobe Photoshop was, I about pulled my hair out. But I am so thankful for YouTube tutorials and the resources out there that can teach us how to use it. I'm glad that I'm quick to learn because that helped as well. But yeah, technology is frustrating, like anything that you're learning new, right? But once I learned it and figured it out, I mean, it was quick and it was fast and it was super easy to get the hang of it. I also realized that there were other products out there that I could use. ProPresenter is awesome. I never even knew that existed. When I started this project and I did my proposal, I talked about using mainly PowerPoint and iMovie and iPhoto. Nah, I'm using ProPresenter and Photoshop because those are cool and they work way better. So I'm glad that I learned those things as well. Overall, I think that this project just opens the door for so many creative opportunities for students. they've grown up in a tech-heavy world, and this is enabling them to get engaged and involved again in something that has been around for years. Scenic design and set design has been around for hundreds of years, but now we can engage them by showing them how to create it digitally and the different benefits that come from that. So I'm really excited about that. I know that this project is successful because I was able to share it with a few of my friends who are also drama teachers, and they want to use it. They think that it's cool, and they were intrigued by it and wanted to help set their kids up for a successful career in theater technology. And how else would they do that but by teaching them projection design, because it's so cool and so up and coming. So I know that I created something cool when I was able to show it with my peers, and they want to use it, and I think that's awesome. So overall, I learned a ton from doing this, and I realized that if you want to go ahead and put on this project and do it with your students, you really got to know the technology that you're teaching. So get on with those tutorials and do all the reading you can, and there's a lot of stuff out there. Go to theaterface.com and talk about the process you're using, and someone will help you out there. And I really hope that you learned a lot from this presentation and that I didn't just drown you with information. So please take a look at those resources and use whatever you need.